What up, everybody? Here I am, back in my chair again. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, about 2 to 3 months, but here's the thing. I was enjoying my summer. Summertime came around, I was outside having some fun. But now that September is here and summer is slowly ending, I figured, yeah, let me get back to my YouTube grind, and start posting these videos and doing some of these controller reviews. Speaking of which, I actually had one controller that I was taking around with me and doing some mobile gaming during the summertime that I want to show you guys. So without further ado, let's talk about it. How's it going, everybody? This is Abxylute here, and here we have the Abxylute S9 mobile gaming controller. So this is another one of those mobile gaming controllers that can actually stretch out to fit like not just phones but also tablets. And I know that this is the box that it came in. Didn't came with anything fancy to the point where I don't even need my kunai for. But yes, this is another one of those mobile gaming controllers, and I heard a lot of good things about this controller. So without further ado, let's get started by opening up this controller. Let's see. All right, so it looks like we get different types of D-pads. Okay, so it looks like you get one that has like the up, down, left, right more squared out, and one that's like more so of a flatter surface with the octagon. Looks like you get some spare joysticks in here, which, all right, cool. They give you, what's this? Protocol. Looks like you got something that you can scan, which is pretty interesting. Looks like protocol, home, hold home, parent. Okay, cool. So it looks like it has a little bit of a how-to. Trying to see what all these stickers are. Actually, this is kind of weird. You got this in Chinese, and you got it. This is just blank. Okay. That's blank, set that to the side. It looks like here is the user manual. Looks like they got a video demonstration for you by scanning the QR code. Looks like it supports PlayStation mode, Android, X input, Nintendo Switch mode. Of course, everything supports Nintendo Switch mode, because why not? Recommended game scenarios, local gamers, no controller, mapping mode, local games controller, Android mode, emulators, Nintendo Switch mode, okay, X input mode, sure. But looks like it has all the modes that you need to play different games and stuff, and about how to do everything. Oh, and it looks like it has a mobile app. Scan this. You scan this box right here to get your mobile app. All right, cool. Oh, and it looks like the box has its own tutorials, which, you know, I'm gonna still do my own tutorials just because. And here we go. We have the controller itself. And what do I think about this controller? First, holding this in the hands. It's honestly, it feels really high quality. It's like a full-fledged controller. The joysticks, they're not bad. Definitely felt better, but this is actually really good. These friction rings around here feel extremely good, like really good. Like it feels like this joystick is rolling on butter or something. Feels really nice. The ABXY, they feel nice. They're membrane buttons. I wish they were mechanical keys, but hey, membranes, there ain't nothing wrong with just membrane buttons. The D-pad is like kind of a, yeah, it's a membrane as well. D-pad feels nice. And it looks like you can actually swap out the D-pad, but I don't know how. I'll probably figure it out eventually later on. Looks like this D-pad won't come off. And by the looks of it, looks like it's in by 2 prongs. I just gotta figure it out. Let's see. Left bumper, right bumper feels actually pretty fine. The 2 triggers, they have a decent amount of resistance to them. They actually feel really nice, no problem. Looks like you got your home button right here. Capture button. I don't know what the circle button does. And it looks like you got a mode button to switch between the modes. Looks like it has the USB-C charger port right here that's in the middle, which I actually think that's a good position to put a charging port, and a headphone jack right here. All right, that's actually really nice. And if you look at the back of this controller, you got 2 programmable buttons that sit right here that actually have a decent enough resistance, so it's not like you can easily press them. You can just kind of just sit over here and just play it willy-nilly, and then you can easily press the buttons if you need to. I wonder, hold this Here I got my Razer Edge. I'm just gonna plug this in because I'm curious just to see how this thing works. Feels nice. Oops, got YouTube up. But yeah, without further ado, let's actually hook this up to my PC because I do want to do a joystick accuracy test and input latency test, and I want to play around with this controller a little bit more. Before I do that, is there anything else in the box? Looks like there is nothing else in the box, so yeah, looks like this is the controller right here. Let's just hook this up to my PC and let's see how this controller performs for mobile gaming. All right, guys, so here we are in the gamepad tester. As you see, I have the Abxylute mobile controller connected to my PC with this wild, crazy connection that I normally form. So as you see, all the buttons are responsive. Without further ado, let's do a joystick accuracy test to see what the accuracy is for the joysticks. Go over. All right. Huh. Doesn't look like it hits all the circles. Okay, well, it's a 0.5, 0.7. It's not bad. It could be better. I wish it was a little bit more evened out, but it's good. It's a good average rating. 0.06 and 0.08. Not bad at all. Okay. All right, then. I guess without further ado, let's do an input latency test on this controller. All right, guys. So here we are in next input tester, and we're going to do 1,000 sample rate for this controller and just see how well it performs. So without further ado, let's get this started. All right. A bunch of 3s, 3.8, 3.9s, 3.8, 3.9s. And what the heck? Average of 33. Oh, the max is like 29,465. Okay, that will definitely throw it off. So ignoring the max, it definitely looks like this controller is rated for 250 polling rate with a 4 millisecond input latency. So I'll definitely say this is actually really good for a mobile controller. And yeah, I'm impressed. Now, the next thing I actually want to test out is the Bluetooth mode of this controller and see what the input latency is for Bluetooth mode. So without further ado, let's set that up. All right, guys, so here we are back with X Input Tester, and I have my controller hooked up to my PC via Bluetooth, and I just have it plugged into my phone because my phone's acting as the power source for this controller because this controller doesn't have an internal battery. But without further ado, let's give this a try and let's see what the input latency is. I see 1s to 15s to, oh my God, this is all over the place. It's like a bunch of 1s and 16s and 15s. All right, so we got an average input latency of 9.0 with a polling rate of 110, but the max number we got was 37 with the lowest being 0.64. And looking at these numbers, this is all over the place. Yeah, I could definitely see a lot of instability issues when using this controller's Bluetooth mode, which, I mean, the average isn't bad, but because of these dramatic changes from like 4 milliseconds to like 18 to 12, it would definitely like create this inconsistency with the game, and it makes the gameplay not feel as smooth as it can be. So the good news is that Bluetooth mode is compatible with Call of Duty Mobile, so that way that makes this controller compatible with Call of Duty Mobile via Bluetooth like a bunch of other controllers. But the bad side about that is the input latency is average is decent, but the amount of stutters and inconsistencies with the with per input is definitely going to affect the gameplay and affect the way how the game feels when you're playing the game. You will definitely notice it if you were to use the Bluetooth mode over the wired mode. With that being said, yeah, I probably only recommend this for like Call of Duty Mobile. That's about it. All right, let's move along with this video. All right, guys, so let's talk about the ABXY game mobile app. So this is the app that's actually compatible with the Abxylute controller. As you see, I already got plugged in, and without further ado, we're actually going to get into the app. Give it a minute for the apps to load up. I am on a S22, so it kind of acts a little slow on this phone. All right, so once the app fully loads up, you'll notice that you'll have all of your mobile games listed right here on the very first tab, plus a couple of different cloud gaming games, of course, through Xbox Game Pass, of course.
And you also have a favorites tab right here, so you can see your favorite games if you want to. If you keep on going down, you get to see all the recommended cloud gamings, which is basically a bunch of different cloud games. You go over, this is like with the mobile tab, I press an RB. You get into all the latest and greatest recommended mobile games that you can play on your phone with basically a bunch of editors picks and stuff. And going over one more time, you get the classics section, which is basically just showing PPS as PP and RetroArch, which RetroArch is all you really need, to be honest. So you have that. Also, getting into the settings. The settings is where you actually find like basically the cloud game servers United States. This is where you also can set the wallpaper, and it can tell you what's the latest version of the app that you're on. Axing out of that, going into controller. Now, an interesting thing about the controller portion is that you need to make sure that you actually hook up your phone to your controller with the Bluetooth settings. So believe it or not, while this controller is plugged in, it's always emitting this Bluetooth like protocol that's used to be able to allow you to change the configurations of this controller. So if I was to say, for instance, pull right down here, hold this, you should see a name that's similar to this. I know it's a little bright, but you see like an Abxylute 9 501. That is the Bluetooth connection that's used to actually configure this controller, not necessarily to actually like play it with a regular controller, but just use as configuration. But anyway, once you get that set up, you can actually go into the customized settings, and this will allow you to remap the buttons, be able to change up the motion zone. So believe it or not, this controller does have built-in motion, which I'm not sure why it has built-in motion when you have built-in motion in your phone, but it's nice to have. You can adjust the dead zones of your left and right stick if you want to. You can do trigger dead zones if you want to for both the left and the right triggers if you want. And you can adjust the stick sensitivity to make it go from 0 to 100 real quick if you want to for both left and right stick. Also, the last but not least, another thing you can also do is upgrade the firmware with this. And you can actually do a bunch of controller testing where basically you can test all the buttons to make sure everything is 100%. And once you tap back, you can also calibrate the controller with the joysticks and the triggers. I've already calibrated, so I'm not going to calibrate it again. But yeah, that's pretty much majority of the features of the app. There's also one more thing about this app that I really like with this Abxylute controller is, like, say for instance a game like Delta Force, for example, you can actually set up touchscreen mapping mode. So even though games like Delta Force that doesn't use controllers, you can actually use your Abxylute controller with Delta Force and actually play the game as if just like a normal game. Actually, I will show you an example of it. Let me actually launch Delta Force for you guys so you guys can see it. All right, guys, so here I loaded in Delta Force, and as you see, I actually am able to control the game with my controller. So the way how it's done is you see this little tab right here. This will actually show you all of the buttons I have mapped to my controller. So all the touchpad buttons are right here, and once you have it set up, you just save configurations, and you can play it like normal. As you can see, I got all my buttons working, and it's working fine. Oh shit, well, hold on. Let me go get this guy. I'm about to die. And I died. And this is why you don't run out in the open like that. All right, now, so I've been using this mobile controller for basically the whole summer. Here are my thoughts on this controller. Overall, I have to say that this controller is a very versatile controller. This controller has 4 different modes with this X input mode, HID mode, PlayStation mode, and Nintendo Switch mode for some weird reason. With all these 4 of these modes, basically this controller is extremely versatile. It can work for any mobile game or any mobile game that it has controller support. I have no problem using this controller for those games. Even the Bluetooth mode for Call of Duty Mobile is actually really nice, even though the input latency is really like all sporadic and all over the place. It's still nice to know that you can use this controller with Call of Duty Mobile. The average input latency of this controller is actually really nice, averaging around 4 millisecond input latency. And also, I like the fact that this controller has 2 programmable buttons, which is really nice for like FPS games or any other games when you don't want to take your thumbs off the sticks. You just program the 2 back buttons and there you go. you have your little somewhat competitive edge against other players playing mobile games. Speaking of programming the buttons, I have to say I really do like the software of this controller. I love the fact that the software actually gives you the ability to map the controller to games that normally only support like touchscreen controls like Delta Force. So the fact that this software gives you the ability to map the controller to all of the like face buttons on a mobile game that doesn't support controller is really nice, and I have to say I really do enjoy the fact that I can play Delta Force with this controller. Overall, if I was to give this controller a rating from 1 through 10, I would have to say I'll give this controller a solid 8 out of 10. And there's a reason why. This controller is a great controller, but I do have some solid reasons of why I give this controller an 8 out of 10. The first things first is, even though this controller has a Bluetooth mode to allow you to play Call of Duty Mobile, the input latency is sporadic. It's not like a smooth like input latency. It goes from 1 millisecond to 15 milliseconds, which can cause some like missteps or misfirings, or basically not responding in a timely manner when playing like competitive games like Call of Duty Mobile. Another reason is because of this controller is somewhat phone case friendly. So if you have a thin phone case on your phone, then you should have no problem using this controller with your phone. But if you have one of those like heavy duty, really thick phone cases, then unfortunately this controller may have some issues connecting with your phone because of how thick your phone case is. It's not much I could do about it, but it's just something I noticed. So that's why I say this controller is somewhat phone case friendly. And last but not least, another thing about this controller is that the headphone jack. The headphone jack only works when you have it in HID mode. Why does it only work when it's in HID mode? I have no idea, but when I try it with X input mode, Switch mode, or PlayStation mode, the headphone jack doesn't work at all. But as soon as I put it in Android mode, the headphone jack works perfectly fine. So that's just something that you guys should be aware of when using this controller. But other than that, this is a really solid mobile controller for everyday users or anybody who's looking for a controller to play like mobile games, emulations, whatever you want to play on your phone. This is a great option for you players. And with that being said, those are my thoughts for this controller. Alright guys, so that is it for this video. If you found this video informative, helpful, or entertaining, or all of the above, you should do me a favor and hit that like button for me. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also hit that notification bell to notify you guys of the next upcoming controller reviews I'm going to do. Yes, I understand I started off with the mobile controller for basically September, but I do have a bunch of other like PC controllers that I'm going to review, as well as a couple of different mobile controllers that I'm going to review. So it is very important that you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel and also hit that notification bell so that way you guys will be notified of my next basically controller review. But until then, I'll see you guys next time, hopefully probably around pumpkin spice season. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.